Hi, thanks for listening. I know we're going through a really hard time right now. Everybody is adjusting to the big changes, lockdowns, social isolation. There's a lot going on. Some people have been impacted by the virus, they've lost family members. This is a tough time. And I think some of us are really lucky, myself included. We can work from home. We have understanding employers that are becoming our basically humanitarians during this time. Other people aren't so lucky. Employers are just, honestly, I think really what people need to be calling out those who are behaving in the least compassionate ways. And we just need to stop doing business with those people because right now it's the time to come together. Governments all around the world, well, I know in the US and the UK, have brought out packages. Nothing is perfect, but they're trying. They're really trying to help citizens of their countries and just to really help during this time. In the UK, 500,000 people signed up to volunteer to help the NHS. Even just saying that gives me goosebumps. So when we hear, I think people need to post stories when employers or companies or businesses are doing the wrong thing during this time, and they need to be called out and they need to be put to they need to be forced to change because we just can't be treating people who, especially those who are in lower income levels, they are going to be impacted the most during this. And we need to think about the mental health of people that are struggling with that. And it'd really be great to see more of that into play. This isn't a picnic for everybody, but for some people, it won't be as devastating as it is for others. This doesn't mean we should suffer. This doesn't mean that if we're dealt a lucky hand that we should feel bad about it. We should feel extremely grateful, and we should help spread the word. If when I read articles about something where a single mom who's a carer in the US and she's had struggled finding childcare for her young child. She has a 2-year-old, and she's had to call in sick, or not call in sick, but call out twice at her work. And they told her the next time she calls out, she'd be fired. I mean, who does that during a pandemic? What type of employer does not extend grace to an employee that's trying as hard as they can and struggling? I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's unconscionable. And those people need to be brought to head, and they need to be just removed from their positions of power. Anybody that's not a compassionate leader, that's not understanding, this is a way to weed out a lot of really uh, selfish and narcissistic people because there's just no room for that right now. And we are consumers, and we don't need to support businesses that are treating people poorly during this time. When you have governments doing everything they can, working around the clock, putting themselves at risk of getting the virus themselves, you need to look in the mirror. If people are not, landlords that are posting eviction notices. I read an article about a woman in Detroit who she just can't afford to pay her bills. She's poor, and they've shut off her water. I mean, come on, this just shouldn't be happening. And we need to start talking about those things, and we need a little bit of humor. We need some comic relief every single day. I get that. But we also need to be talking about and putting into the limelight and honestly publicly shaming people that are behaving badly. And these are landlords and employers that are just treating their employees just like a cog in the wheel. And, if the governments of every country in the world really thought about that, about their people, they wouldn't care and they would not have imposed these lockdowns. So it's time for everybody to care, everybody to extend grace, and every single employer, landlord, business owner, utility company, to wake up and stop being so greedy. So that's my spiel about just the bad actors in this situation, and that's really what they are. Anybody that's not trying to help their I want to know, because I want to make a conscious effort not to do any business if I can with those companies. Things are very, very real. The airline industry is getting hammered, and I personally love to fly. I travel between the U.S. and the U.K., and I have family over there, and I don't want to see my freedom to fly go away. There needs to be a way going forward for airlines to operate effectively and for people to visit family, because I am not the only one with family scattered all over the world. And there are people that do business in other countries, and yes, you can do this via Zoom and Skype and whatever online video conferencing service that you have. Yes, that can be done, and probably that should be done a lot more. But it shouldn't be gone altogether. So I really want to see the airlines survive and get help during this time. And we need to keep pilots flying. They need to be keeping up in the air, keeping up their hours, keeping up that experience. I mean, I definitely don't want to get into a plane with a pilot who hasn't flown in a year, because the planes have been on lockdown. So we need to wake up and think about that and really try to. It's really important that we interact with other cultures, and that other cultures and countries interact with us. And that's what brings us together. That's what helps us move beyond cultural differences and to find that really we're a lot alike in a lot of ways. And that shouldn't go away. Now let's talk about panic buying. Interestingly enough, when I was in the store and all of the antibacterial soap was gone, and there was regular dish soap, I bought that. It's fine. It still does the job, or it wouldn't be on the market. And I noticed that Calgon makes a antibacterial laundry detergent additive. So basically, you put your laundry detergent in, you put your fabric softener in, and then you take some of this Calgon, and it's pricey, but you put it in, and if you put it in with your wash, it will sanitize. It will antibacterial sanitize your clothing. And you can also use it on an empty wash to sanitize your washer. So I've been using that on my clothes. And I would have never even noticed it had it not been for this coronavirus, but it's now something that I use with my sheets. I just use it in everything. And here in the UK, it's a bit pricey. I think it was £5.99 at Waitrose for this bottle that I'm showing on the screen, but it's worth it to me. You don't use a lot, and so it does last quite a bit. So, and again, I felt this is a bit of an Easter egg, so to speak, because I don't think enough people know about this, because there was plenty of it in the grocery store. And, it's just one of those things that, yeah, we should be. I mean, especially for first responders and people that are on the front line when they're getting back, or anybody that has to just go out and work with the general public during these times. It's just peace of mind. You can put it on the hottest temperature in your wash and pop a bit of that in, and just have a little bit of peace of mind that it's getting an antibacterial sanitation. So we've been doing that. But as far as washing my dishes and my hands and stuff, I just plain old-fashioned soap. I feel if I had a hospital grade germicide killer, that's something that I would do. But I'm not panicked about not having an antibacterial soap on hand. And especially because I'm self-isolating, it's just my son and I. I think if I was, again, we should reserve that stock for the people that are still having to go out and deliver groceries, Amazon packages, things like that. But people that are self-isolating in home, they don't really need to hoard up all of the antibacterial stuff because if you're just in your home, I'm sure just plain old-fashioned liquid soap will do just fine. So, I want to talk about the panic buying when it comes to people buying tons and tons of, and I've seen these photos in the US, gallons of milk. First of all, milk goes bad. So I just don't understand that. Second of all, what I've noticed in my family, which is it, my son and I've noticed that I thought, oh, he's going to just be at home. He's going to be bored. He's going to constantly want to snack. And the first week, I felt like he was always hungry. But once that second week of being on lockdown kicked in, I noticed that his body just naturally got to this place where he's not eating as much as he used to eat. None of us are because we're not expending the same amount of calories. So, um, you know, he has breakfast and maybe a snack, and then we have like a big dinner. So, and we're eating a bit later. I mean, everything is just shifted and adjusted. But it makes me think, and here in the UK, we can go out right now as it stands. We can go out and have an exercise activity outside, and then we can also go to the store. So I find that because I have a small fridge as well, I'm going to the store and just picking up things that I need, for a few days. And I'm only taking a basket, and it's only what I can carry. And I'm trying to set a good example because probably the people that need to stock up the most are nurses, doctors, carers, frontline defense people that are helping us stay alive. Okay, I get that it probably makes sense for them to stock up because they don't, so they don't have to spend a lot of time going to the store. Okay, but for those of us who are relegated to working from home or being at home, and we're not isolating in terms of being maybe having the virus, so we can go out and we can get stuff. So yeah, I just think like you don't need to buy 1,000 million gallons of milk. It's just crazy. How fast are you going to eat that? And this is, these are large people, so maybe they do go through a lot, but I mean, we don't need to eat as much right now because we aren't expending as much energy, or we're just at home. I think people need 2 meals a day at the most during this time. I mean, I am just not as hungry as I used to be. And I think it's just a natural evolution of the fact that I'm not expending as much energy. I mean, even if I have a treadmill. So even if I'll go for a 4 or 5 mile run on my treadmill or a walk, I still don't find that I'm getting any hungrier. So, yeah, I just think panic buying is a bit, it's a bit much. And I think it's just indicative of the overeating culture that we have. And, people don't need to stockpile so much, but stockpile the right things. No offense. I mean, stockpile long life milk, not dairy milk. And, but there are a lot better and more nutritional things you can get, such as rice, quinoa, couscous, tabbouleh, lentils, beans, dried beans. There are a lot of things that people could be getting aside from pasta. So I have stockpiles of beans, lentils. I'm getting tabbouleh. I'm getting my couscous. I've got some polenta. But yeah, it's not necessarily my first choice when it comes to stockpiling up food. So nuts, things like that will fill you up, dried fruit, um, things that will fill you up and make you feel full, but are also densely nutritious. Things like nuts. We don't need to be eating as much. So this panic buying just makes me think this is just And the stuff that people are buying, like the milk and meat, and so it just shows that all the wrong foods that we're over consuming to begin with. So if you're going to panic buy, please buy things that, think about when people came over on the Mayflower, what they brought. They bought beans, rice, things that are going to last a long time. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm also buying stuff that I would eat if I wasn't in this situation, because I don't want to waste food. So if you can, think about that. Just buy stuff that you want to eat. If we get to a place where they're, God forbid, they're rationing food and so on, then we can make a choice on whether we want to, then we're going to have to eat stuff that's given to us. But for now, that's not the case. Please don't panic buy. Love your neighbor. Be compassionate. Extend grace. And be grateful. And just spread love and joy. And thanks for listening. And be well until next time.